This is a first time for me. In this film, part of the story actually starts playing before the production credit happens. I don't know why, but this really threw me off. This is 2004's District B13, and this is our first look at French cinema since Titan, and we all know what a trip that was. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving you my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for watching it yourself. Links to the film are in the description. The film is set in Paris in 2010, and it turns out that they thought the major cities would be overrun by trash and varmint by that year. They weren't too far off, but it just goes to show how much faith they had in humanity in such a short time. As we sweep through Leïto's apartment complex, we see that most of the public is struggling while drugs and weapons are all over the city. Soon, K2 pulls up outside, and the man standing watch in front of the complex are not too keen on letting him in. He tries to tell them that he'll wait for Leïto to arrive, but they tell him he'll have to leave a message instead. When they ask him why he wants to meet with Leïto, he tells them that he has something that belongs to him. And upstairs, we see Leïto open up a suitcase that contains multiple packages wrapped in brown paper. Everything seems to be nice and civil downstairs, but a tuner car appears around the corner. Well, this movie's wasting no time at all at getting into the gritty action. Not to mention, this was made when all the smaller action movies had epic little parkour chase scenes, so I'd imagine we'll be seeing one of those before too long. K2 motions for his guys to take the stairs, and he decides to take the elevator. Upstairs, Leïto cuts open one of the packs of drugs, and he seems to dump the product down the drain. When Leïto's guards upstairs see that the elevator's coming up, they call down for one of the other guys to let them know if someone was approved to come up. But after no one answers, K2 comes in, guns a-blazing. When Leïto hears the shots, he hurries with dumping the product as K2 and his men come down the hallway searching for him. Just as Leïto opens his apartment door, one of the men starts shooting at him. And K2 reminds himself that he needs him alive, otherwise someone else will kill him. And this is where that epic parkour scene I mentioned happens. Leïto runs across the outside of the building like a French Spider-Man, and people fall to their deaths from tall apartment buildings. There's a part where one of the bad guys gets dropped in between the stair rails and hits every rail on his way down. This movie's already a yes from me. Later, K2 goes to his boss, Taha, and he and his men try to defend why Leïto got away from them. K2 tries to explain that they could have got him if they were allowed to kill him, but Taha doesn't accept that answer. He starts to shoot them one by one until he comes to K2, who suddenly has a great idea. K2 mentions that they'll go get Leïto's sister Lola as a way of drawing him out. Taha is definitely a fan of his idea, so K2 and his remaining men head to the market that she works at. At first, Lola puts up an admirable fight, but she's overpowered immediately, and they all drive to Taha's spot. As K2 walks her through the facility, all of the men inside try to get their hands full of Lola, but she doesn't stand for it. K2 ends up taking her to Taha, and Taha tells his lackey to let Leïto know that they have his sister. Almost like Leïto's hopping city rooftops all of the time, he drops in at this exact moment and holds a knife to Taha's throat. When K2 comes in with Lola, Leïto lays down his terms for letting him live. Taha agrees to leave his apartment building alone and not have a dealer within 500 meters. He also agrees to let Lola and him leave the building untouched. Leïto's no fool though, and he holds Taha hostage as they walk through the building. As soon as they get to a car downstairs, Leïto gets in the back with Taha and a case, while Lola gets in the driver's seat. Suddenly, Taha's entire army shoots at the car to try and stop them, but she drives straight over the spike strip and straight to the police station. It turns out that the government has given up on the district, and the people are packing up to abandon their post. When Leïto tries to give them Taha, the superintendent ends up locking up Leïto instead and setting Taha loose with Lola. As Taha leaves the station, he carries Lola to K2 and tells him to take her back to his office and get her high on heroin. Back in the station, the superintendent tries to defend his actions, but Leïto isn't having it. 6 months fly by, and we see that the district hasn't gotten much better when we see Carlos putting his guys in their place. Carlos heads to an underground casino that's thriving with criminal hotshots throwing their money around. Carlos heads to the back room, where his best associate tells him that cops are waiting to swarm them when they transfer a big load of money. He tells Carlos that they definitely have a mole amidst them. Suddenly, Captain Damien reveals himself as an undercover cop, and he places the entire facility under arrest. As the police extract Carlos through the roof, his guys try to break back in to save him and kill Damien. But they're too late and decide to take the money that's left behind instead. Now Damien's out of rounds until they drop more down the hole. All of these bad guys still have guns in their hands, keep that in mind. Now, do you think they pointed their guns at him and shot him? No, that would be too easy. Instead, each of them comes at him one at a time and lets them whip their butts instead. That's definitely the most annoying action movie trope that needs to end. They play it off like all of them are out of rounds, but we know damn well they know where the ammo is in that room if they're really out of ammo. Still not enough to taint the movie though. After Damien takes all of them out, he heads downstairs and single-handedly takes out all the armed men running around. Damien looks like Lex Luthor, but he's definitely a French Superman with all these one-move knockouts. This is like watching a live-action One Punch Man. By the time the other officers come in, Damien's already handled everyone inside. When he gets back to the station, he finds out that the Secretary of State is there to give him his next mission, which consists of getting back a nuclear warhead that Taha and K2 stole in their district. Damien isn't too keen on taking on the suicide mission, but after telling him that he has 23 hours before the bomb goes off, they tell him that they also want him to recruit Leïto to help him. Leïto's been locked up for 6 months for killing the superintendent, but they take him to a vehicle for a transfer where they throw Damien in shortly after. Damien's playing undercover, and he gives Leïto a cover story that plays into his hatred for Taha. Soon Damien's overthrown the guards on the front seat, and Leïto soon joins him. Damien asks him how to get to the district, and they end up smashing straight through the barricades and crashing into another criminal sports car. Here, Leïto spots that Damien's a cop, and he leaves him at the van where Damien's confronted by the owner of the sports car. After putting him in his place, Damien heads off in the direction Leïto ran. They seriously stay true to their character habits. Taha just found out that Leïto broke out, and he's already spying on him from up high. On top of that, Super Lex over here swoops in and delivers a knockout blow out of nowhere. I love it. Damien admits to being a cop, and he explains to Leïto that there is indeed a bomb in District 13. After he explains that he's only trying to do this to save the good people that are left in the district, Leïto agrees to help him. Well, between that and the fact he'll get some sweet revenge on Taha and save his sister, that might actually be more of a reason for him instead of saving District 13. Damien tells him that he plans on having Leïto cause a distraction big enough to distract Taha so he can sneak in and defuse the bomb. Leïto has his own plan, and he calls Taha and tells him that he and Damien are right across the street. Leïto assures Damien that this is the only way that things are going to work out, and he should trust him. He tells him that he knows exactly where Taha would keep the bomb, and K2 comes to collect them. Meanwhile, Taha goes down to his makeshift prison, and he pays a visit to his beast of a man for a job. As K2 walks Damien and Leïto through the facility, Damien's amazed by how much hardware and manpower there is in the facility. When they finally come face to face with Taha, they end up having a little makeshift auction to see how much the lives of 2 million people are to Damien. After much deliberation, they decide to settle on 20 million euros to get the bomb back. Taha's that confident villain that I could actually believe would get away with quite a bit. He has an army, he has the firepower, and now he holds all the cards, and he knows it. He knows that he not only has Damien eating out of the palm of his hand, but he has Lola lying under the missiles thrusters, so he knows that he has Leïto too. That's power. Damien calls the Secretary of State to transfer the money to Taha's offshore account. And at that time, Lola wakes up to see that she's chained to a pillar next to the missile. She struggles to knock it down, but she decides to think smarter instead. She spots a tank of gas. When Damien tells him how much money he needs to transfer, the secretary tells him that they won't transfer that much money. Damien tries to play it off like it's all done, but Taha isn't a trusting criminal. When they call back to confirm that the money got transferred, they find out that the bank is closed for another half an hour, which is pushing it to the detonation time. They send Leïto and Damien into another room to wait for the confirmation. Just a side note, I just realized I thought Leïto looked familiar this whole time, but I just placed it. I definitely see Ted from How I Met Your Mother. Now I can't get that out of my head. As the two of them wait, Leïto feels like something's off. Leïto thinks something's off about the fact that the government lost a bomb, sent a super cop, but still won't pay up. Something's just off. Damien assures him that everything's fine, and they try to come up with a plan to get taken to Taha. Damien gets them taken to Taha, but he doesn't like the level of improvising that's going on. For someone that isn't happy with so much improvising, he and Leïto sure end up improvising a lot of parkour combat now. On top of that, when Taha finds out that Damien was bluffing about the transfer, he smacks his hand in the middle of a huge coke pile like he didn't just lose a crap ton of money. Taha goes to blow the bomb up, but his assistant tells him that the government ended up using that account number to clean out his other accounts. Once his men find out that he won't be able to pay them this week, they shoot him down. Now that Taha's dead, the men look to K2 for instructions, and he tells them that they better find Leïto and Damien. Speaking of those two, they hop out of the sewer just in time to get pursued by K2 and his hordes of men. There's not much recapping to do here, it's a big-ass parkour chase scene. It's awesome and you've got to watch it to really get the feel of the action. But no one's really surprised that these guys are jumping and swinging around the district like spider monkeys. I mean, when the landscape is that dilapidated, you gotta treat it like your own personal jungle gym. Eventually, K2 and his guys catch up to Leïto and Damien, and they send them to defuse the bomb. When they leave to go to the roof, they run into Taha's mountain of a beast that waits for the two of them to come in. After Leïto watches the man beat up Damien for a while, he finally decides that it's a good time for him to jump in. He takes a cable from the side of the room and wraps the beast up so tight that he can barely move. After Damien beats him in the head with a cinder block, the two of them head to the roof where Lola's doused herself and the ground in gasoline. She throws a match to the gas, but Damien and Leïto show up just in time to catch the match. Damien calls the secretary to get the code, and Leïto realizes that it's all a trap when he hears the code has the designation of District 13. He tries to convince Damien to not enter the code, but Damien still believes that the government he works for is looking out for the people. Classic mistake, too much trust in the wrong people. Even when Leïto spells it out for him, Damien can't help but stick his head in the mud and try to get to the missile. At this point, I'd put any other district number at the end of the code. What district is the Secretary of State in? For an international action movie that pretty much has a heavy focus on parkour, the fight scenes are phenomenal, especially the one here between Damien and Leïto. I could rewatch this last 15-minute stretch over and over. When Damien reaches for the bomb, Lola's actually the one that stops him. And when the timer reaches 0, he realizes that Leïto was right. After the three of them get off the roof, Damien and Leïto take the bomb to the secretary's office where they have a reporter wait on the rooftops to record his confession. After they scare one out of him, they broadcast this treason across the network. Damien takes Lola and Leïto back to District 13, and he tells them that they're going to be breaking down the walls and reopening the schools, all because of Leïto's bravery and their teamwork. After the brother and sister head into the district, Damien goes on his way, and the credits roll. I know I keep saying it, but for a French action movie made in 2004, I was more entertained than watching some recent Hollywood blockbusters. It's amazing what you can do when you know how to put together a film. For those of you that want some more French films, don't forget to check out my opinion on Titan. If you want to watch what happens when a car has a baby with a woman, just click the link. Yeah, it's a weird one for sure. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should rewatch next, and I'll see you in the next video.